All right, let's talk about negotiation. Today, we're going to dig into a huge mindset shift, one that takes you from just accepting deals to actually shaping them. And it all boils down to two key things: ambition and assertiveness. You ready? Let's get into it. You know that feeling, right? We've all been there. You walk away from a negotiation and that little voice starts creeping in. Could I have gotten more? Did I leave money on the table? A better price, better terms, whatever it is. Well, that feeling, that's exactly what we're going to tackle today. So, what's the solution? Well, it really comes down to those two words we mentioned: ambition and assertiveness. And look, this isn't about being aggressive or, being a jerk. It's about being smart, being prepared, and being crystal clear. This combo, it's the foundation for a truly winning mindset. Okay, so section one, the winning mindset. And it really does all start right there, in your head. This whole first part is about redefining how you even approach negotiation. Because let's be real, before you can win at the table, you've got to win the battle in your own mind first. All right, first up, ambition. Think of ambition as your engine here. It's the drive, right? It's what pushes you to aim higher than just, good enough. It's about sitting down and really defining what an excellent outcome looks like, and then, making a plan to go get it. And ambition's partner in crime, assertiveness. Now, this is so important to get right. Assertiveness is not aggression. They're not the same thing. It's really all about clarity and confidence. It's just the ability to say what you need, what your boundaries are, and what you expect, but to do it directly and respectfully. So what happens when you put these two together? Well, you get this amazing synergy. Your ambition sets that big, juicy target, and your assertiveness? That's how you communicate that target with total clarity. When you do that, it's incredible. It cuts through the confusion, it builds respect, and it makes sure the other side takes you seriously right from the get-go. Okay, so that's the theory, the what. Now for section two, let's get into the how. Let's see what this actually looks like in practice when the pressure's on and you have to turn this mindset into real-world action. All right, let's take a super common example, something everyone has to deal with: negotiating price. So imagine you're trying to get a better deal, reduce some costs from one of your suppliers. Now, your standard goal, the reasonable one, might be to ask for, say, a 15% cost reduction. And that's fine. It's a solid, totally justifiable number. But this is where that ambition we talked about kicks in. So instead of starting at 15%, your ambitious approach is to set that initial goal at 20%. You go in and you assertively present this as your starting point. And of course, you've got your reasons ready, market conditions, budget needs, whatever. By doing this, you've just set a high anchor, and that immediately reframes the whole conversation in your favor. Okay, how about another one? Let's talk about something that's huge for any business: cash flow. Specifically, negotiating better payment terms with a supplier. So the standard goal here might be extending your payment terms to 30 days. Pretty normal. The ambitious goal? You're going to push for 60 days. Now, the assertive move here isn't just to demand it. It's all about how you frame it as a win-win. You can say something like, hey, if we can get these better terms, it'll allow us to place larger, more consistent orders with you. See? It helps them too. And that whole idea of framing it, well, that leads us perfectly into section 3, the power of language. Because it turns out how you say something is often just as, if not more, important than what you're actually asking for. The words you choose can totally change the game. Okay, just listen to the difference. It's night and day. Instead of a weak kind of passive phrase like, we might find it hard to reduce our prices, you get this clear, assertive statement: we cannot offer a further price reduction. Or instead of, it would be helpful if we could extend the deadline. No, it's, we need to extend the deadline to ensure quality. You see how you're connecting it to a positive outcome for everyone? And this idea applies to everything. Don't ask, could there be a chance? State what you require to proceed. Don't soften things by saying you sometimes noticed issues. Be direct. We must address the recurring quality issues. It just removes all the wiggle room and gets straight to the point. This is true even when the stakes are super high. You don't ask to perhaps revisit the contract. You say, we need to revise the following terms. And look, if you've hit a dead end, don't just let the conversation fizzle out. A strong, assertive statement like, we have reached a standstill and must conclude negotiations, that gives you control, even over the ending. All right, we've talked a lot about assertive language. Now let's get into a really advanced strategy: This comes from an absolute master of negotiation, a guy named Jim Camp. And trust me, this is a total game changer. His entire philosophy can be boiled down to 3 simple, powerful words. Start with no. I know, it sounds totally backwards, right? We're always taught our goal is to get to yes, but Camp's whole approach is about flipping that script to take back control of the conversation. So here's the logic. Starting with no gives you breathing room. It lets you think clearly without that pressure to just agree to anything. It helps you avoid what he calls neediness, that desperate feeling of having to make a deal, which just kills your bargaining power. Instead, you're transparent about your goal, you don't make pointless compromises, and, this is the big one, you're always prepared to walk away. That's the only way to make sure you never settle. Okay, so embracing the idea of no is one thing, but actually saying it, that's a whole other skill. You have to be firm, but you can't go around burning bridges. So for our final section, let's talk about exactly that, how to say no nicely while still standing firm. There's actually a pretty simple 4-step guide for doing this. First, show you appreciate their offer. Start with respect. Second, be clear and direct, but do it kindly. Third, give them a brief, honest reason why. And finally, step 4, if it makes sense, offer an alternative. This is great because it shows you're not shutting down the conversation, just this specific proposal. So what does that sound like in the real world? Here's a perfect example. I'm grateful for your proposal. Unfortunately, it doesn't align with our current priorities. That's it. It's respectful, it's super clear, and it's firm. A masterclass in the professional no. So if there's one thing you take away from all of this, let it be this. Ambition and assertiveness, it's not about being a bully. It's not about being aggressive. It's just about having a clear goal and communicating it with confidence and clarity. That's the secret sauce. And that brings me to my final question for you. Because let's face it, your next negotiation is right around the corner. We all have one coming up. So take a second and really think about it. What is your ambitious ask going to be?